morning and welcome back to the channel. Today is going to be a full day of eating. As you guys know, in the past I've been a little bit hesitant to do these, but I think they've been really informational. I think with the right wording and going about this in the right way is really important to me. So I want to show you guys what I eat in the day to fuel my sessions for both lifting and running for specific goals. I believe that food is fuel, so let's take you guys along a full day of eating. Let's go. We're starting today with just an easy run. My mileage has been picking up, so we're mixing in obviously some low intensity easy runs with our speed work that you guys saw in the last episode. So these base building runs are really important for anyone who's trying to build endurance or even speed. Temperature here in Utah is dropping. It is freezing cold this morning. So I'm starting off with a little jacket. I might strip this at some point, but sometimes at this temperature I'll even add gloves. But since I have the sleeves, I just tuck them in here. But I generally wear shorts up until around like 30 degrees, and then I start putting on pants, or if the wind's too bad. But generally shorts are the choice until we get to around 30 degrees. But beautiful morning regardless. So right now, my easy pace, depending on the day, is anywhere from like a 8:20 to like a 9:15. And that's a huge gap, but perceived rate of exertion and even heart rate is really impacted by things like heat, how you've slept, for women, hormone fluctuations, how fueled you are, how hydrated you are, etc. There's like such a large range of how you might feel on a given day. So that in mind, give yourself some grace if there are days where you're not like 100% spot on where you thought you were gonna be. There's just so many factors that we can't control. So that being said, this cold day definitely allows me to go a little bit faster, but also things like lack of sleep, poor sleep over the past few days have definitely impacted me as well. So just going by feel. All right, so we just wrapped up the run. We had an average pace of 8:36, an average heart rate of 135. That is the benefit of having it be super cold, is just in general, heart rate can stay a little bit more controlled because we don't have the heat as an element. We're gonna go inside and have some post-run fuel. So what we're gonna have for breakfast is, we only have 2 eggs left. So I'm gonna do 2 eggs. I'm gonna do some ground elk, which you guys have seen me have before. You can get it from select retailers, so go to their website and find out where you can get it near you, or you can order it through their website. And then I'm just gonna do rice, because we do have some rice prepped. So this is really easy. If you do prep rice, is to do it like in a big batch and then save it in the fridge. A life hack, we don't use microwaves, but a life hack if you're looking to re-steam your rice is putting ice cubes in the skillet and then covering it. That'll cause a lot of steam and actually rehydrate the rice without making it super soggy or drying it out. So that's what we're gonna have for breakfast. Let's make her up. So I want to obviously preface this what I eat in a day video the same way that I approached last times. I never want my eating to be a prescription for what other people eat. I think that's really important for me to get across of, this is what I ate today on a given day, and every single day is different. I don't have like structured eating. I don't eat at certain times every single day. I honestly just eat to fuel my body, and this is what I eat on a given day. Just a background, I have had so many questions about my transition from eating just plant-based to now eating meat, and having meat be a large focus in my diet. There are quite a few reasons why I decided to start incorporating meat again, and I think before we talk about why I decided to incorporate meat again, we should talk about why I decided to go vegan originally and vegetarian for a large portion of my life. So starting around the age of 9 or 10 years old, I actually decided to stop eating pork and beef, so pig and cow. And this came from ethical reasons. Honestly, I just loved animals growing up, and I still absolutely love animals. You guys know I'm obsessed with the cows in our neighborhood. I'm obsessed with horses. I grew up with horses, so I just grew up with these larger animals, and I was so obsessed with them. And in addition to that, as a child, I just had a harder time digesting red meats. And I think a lot of it was also just the source of the red meat. There wasn't a lot of education on you purchasing your meat from certain companies that prioritize regenerative farming or high quality sources of meat. It was just like, hey, whatever you buy at the grocery store, that was the norm in the 90s and the early 2000s. And I think as a kid, I just realized, like, for one, I love these animals, and I don't necessarily agree with eating them because I felt so bad for them. But then also, in addition to that, I just felt like my stomach was not happy with me. This was before I was diagnosed with celiac, and if you don't know, like, celiac is something that you are born with. It's not something that you just come about. It's not an immune disorder, and sometimes it remains dormant for years of your life until it manifests into something bigger, and that's definitely what happened with me. I had signs of celiac really young, but in the early 2000s, in the 90s, it was just something that was really underdiagnosed, and I think a large portion of why I decided to stop eating red meat based on how it made my stomach feel was also that I was eating gluten in addition to that. So I was diagnosed with celiac at the age of 17, but up until that point, I basically cut meat out from 9, 10 up until I was 17. From cutting red meat out when I was 9 or 10, I slowly transitioned to be pescatarian by the time I hit high school, and then fully vegetarian by the time I was in high school, once again, just for ethical reasons. The more that I learned about how chickens were raised and factory farming, the more I just grew really attached to this idea that if I was eating meat from these sources, that I was punishing these animals myself. And that was something that was really hard for me to absorb and get on board with. So that brings us to age 17, getting diagnosed with celiac, and then also having a really restrictive diet on the meat side. I found that my sources of food were extremely limited at that point. I was eating a lot of soy products and processed foods, and then through college, I was a broke college student working 3 jobs. I really relied on processed foods, and I felt as though I just kept fueling my body with these subpar quality foods. But at the time, it was still worth it for me because I didn't want to be part of a larger problem, which is factory farming. And then in my last few years of college, I actually studied food policy, and I decided to go vegan for about a year at that point. So from vegetarian to vegan, tried it out, didn't feel the best. At the time, I was not really running, but I was lifting very, very heavy throughout the week and very consistently. Was also pulling like 3 all-nighters a week while going to college, working 3 jobs. Like, I was just go, go, go. And I felt as though in that 6 months to a year of being vegan, I cut eggs out. I'd already cut milk out because, I guess I didn't share this, I've been allergic to milk since I was a baby. It's very common in Japanese culture to be allergic to milk or lactose intolerant, whatever it may be. For me, it's a dairy allergy. So I was just removing eggs from my diet, and I felt like, which now it makes sense knowing what I know now about the body, cutting vitamin B and also reducing omega-3s really tanked my energy. So I went back to being just vegetarian. And then over the course of like college into my military career, I was pescatarian, vegetarian for a large portion of it, but there were times where whether I was on mission or I was really training for something that I would incorporate fish back into my diet for things like canned tuna, which is just not necessarily the greatest source of protein, and things like salmon, etc. But for the large majority of that time, I was vegetarian. So fast forward to my cancer journey, I decided to actually go completely vegan again and try that out. At the time, I think there was a documentary that came out that was pretty convincing that there were products in our food that were poisoning us. And I definitely have my own opinions about that currently, and it's definitely different than the opinions that I felt like I had when I made that switch. But while going through chemo and fighting cancer, I thought that I made the right decision to cut out meat and just go back to being vegan completely. So I was vegan after that for around 4 years, and then last year, almost on the dot actually, I decided to transition to eating meat again. So why I decided to eat meat again, and specifically red meat again, I've gotten so many questions on. And if I'm gonna be completely honest, it's not something that I necessarily wanted to do, but my body kept telling me that I needed to make a change. And everybody is different, once again, reiterating that everyone is different. But for me, I actually ended up in the hospital with some respiratory and heart issues that just came out of nowhere. I was so incredibly lethargic while training for Ironman. I felt sick all of the time. I actually grew to be sick all of the time. And post-cancer, my immune system was already suppressed. But then I feel like in addition to being low vitamin B and actually being on vitamin B injections daily and still supplementing with that, I was still not getting what my body needed to operate efficiently, especially with the amount of exercise and training that I was doing while training for Ironmans. So for me, after doing a lot of thinking, I just knew that I needed to make a decision for my health, and I decided to start with elk. So elk was the first food that I decided to eat, and whether it's hunted or farmed on a regenerative farm, in my opinion, these animals get to live a really high quality life, and they get to operate as wild animals as they are. And for me, it just felt as though this was the most ethical decision that I could make, was to start eating elk that was hunted by a friend and start incorporating it that way. After incorporating elk and wild game, I feel significantly different as a person. I'm off completely of my vitamin B injections. I feel like I have more sustainable energy. I feel like my recovery has gotten so much better from my training sessions. I feel like I can train and put my full effort into it. And if you think about it, game meat has a high concentration of creatine. So we supplement with creatine, but in addition to that, our body has refuels of creatine, which helps our energy production and reproduction. So in general, for the first time in a long time, I was feeding my body the energy that it was losing and really fueling it with the right things, with amino acids, with protein, with creatine, with vitamin B, with iron, so many things that I was lacking when I was vegan. Okay, so I want to give a quick disclaimer because I feel like I gave a very good disclaimer last time we did a what I eat in the day video. But just a reminder, this is what I eat on a given day, and every single day changes. It's not prescriptive. I don't eat the same thing every single day at a given time. It's just not something that I do. And also I don't track calories. I don't track macros. In the past, I've tracked protein just to know that I am getting enough. But another reminder is just that what works for me might not work for you. And if I am eating a way that doesn't feel nourishing to your body, please do not repeat it. This is not a prescriptive video. This is not saying, hey, I eat like this, you should eat like this, or in order to look, definitely not that, like me, then you need to eat like this, or in order to perform like me, you have to eat like this. This is just simply how I fuel for performance on a given day. I just wrapped up with some client stuff, but before lunch, we're gonna go do some sauna and cold plunge. I've been doing this to help me with recovery, and I've been fighting off, I think, what is an IT band issue, which is causing my knee to have a ton of pain. So I wanna make sure that I'm prioritizing this today. So we're gonna sauna, cold plunge, and then I'll come back and show you guys what I'm eating for lunch. Cozy wear. I feel like every time I cold plunge, I need to be in cozy wear afterwards. But we're gonna do a quick lunch. I'm gonna show you guys what I do if I'm like really in a hurry and I need to get like a good amount of protein in, good amount of carbs in, but don't have to like really put a ton of effort into it. And then after, we will actually cook a bigger lunch. So this will be like a pre-lunch lunch, and we'll do a bigger lunch on the Blackstone. So we are gonna pop in the pantry. The first thing that we're gonna grab are these Better Oats. This is the apple cinnamon flavor. It is the bomb. This is such an easy thing to prep if you are looking for quick carbs. So we're gonna do some oats. And then we're gonna go back into our BPN cabinet and grab the vegan protein. We're gonna go with vanilla. We're gonna pop hot water on the electric kettle and get this thing boiling. Within like less than a minute, it's already boiling. So we're just gonna take our 2 packets and pop them right into the bowl. You can obviously microwave if you use the microwave or do this on the stove top, but I found that I like the texture of it when I just do the hot water in the oats. So once this hits a certain temp, I'll pull it off and then I'll pop it in the oatmeal. And then just pour it in. And then I'll let this sit for just a second and then I will stir it up. And then once the oatmeal is a little bit runny, but it is fully cooked, then you will throw the protein powder in there. Love you too. So within just a few minutes, I have a great source of carbohydrates, we have some protein, and then obviously I just love fruit, so we've got some extra carbs in the fruit as well. But I will have a steak probably within the next couple of hours before I go train. I was getting super hungry and it was definitely time to eat while I was doing my contrast therapy, so I wanted to do something quick versus having to wait like a whole extra hour for the steaks that we brought. All right, so we actually moved our gym session up a little bit, so pushing my steak off a little bit longer. As you guys saw, I had those 3 snacks. That's gonna hold me over until I can have something a little bit more significant. But I'm also gonna bring some gels. We're just gonna do a solid back session. That's my plan for today. Maybe just added some shoulders for some upper body. But yeah, I'll take you guys along for the lift. One of my favorite things for pull-up progressions. We just wrapped up the workout. I'm gonna go actually hit the grocery store because we were in dire need of a restock of a lot of things. I'm not sure if I'll take you guys in the grocery store with me, but when we get back to the house, I'll definitely show you guys everything that we got so we can get a full idea of kind of what a week, maybe like 3 days worth of food looks like in our household. So, take you guys along. Quick little haul for you guys. So to start off with like our snacks slash packaged goods, we have Go macro bars. I really like these for trail running because they're super high calorie. I actually had one of these on the way home because I realized don't mind Brighton, that I am just so far behind on food. So we got those. We have some Mary's crackers. These are super, super good. Really good ingredients, very minimal ingredients as well. We have some peanut butter granola. This is addicting and so delicious, and once again pretty calorie dense, so be careful with stuff like this because it's really easy to overconsume it if that's not your goal, to get a lot of calories in. But I really, really love this granola. Great ingredients, really easy to consume. Then we have some dried mangoes. These are unsweetened, unsulfured, really delicious. We have siete chips, which if you don't know, siete chips are from Austin, but they also don't have any seed oil. So this is actually our choice chip to have with like dip. I'm actually gonna have some of my friend Shane's wife's peach salsa with some of these tonight. So delicious. And then a couple more packaged things. I just got a Gator Light to have tonight. It's honestly, I don't even know the electrolyte profile on it. It's not the best, but just tasty. I also got a carrot juice, just random cravings, so I picked that up. And then I also got some siete almond flour tortillas. These are unbelievably delicious. Really, really good for things like wraps, etc. Only take about 15 seconds on the pan to heat up. Really like those. And then I guess moving on to eggs. So our farmers kind of had a little bit of a null period with eggs. So I did pick up some eggs. Generally, we just walk down the street to go get them from our farmer, but had to restock that way today. Got some potatoes. I'm gonna have these tonight, along with some other things. Fruit-wise, I got Tyler some bananas. We got pears. Some blood oranges, which are so good. Some Honeycrisp apples, some cut watermelon, and then last but not least, 2 different types of squash. So zucchini and then delicata squash. If you've never had this before, it is incredible. I found it probably about like 5 years ago, and I'm obsessed with it. Every time that fall time hits, I always grab some delicata squash. So I'll definitely show you guys how to cook this in a future video, but love that. And that is that. This is generally like 3-ish days of produce. So I wanted to restock for you guys. So hope that's helpful. These are the venison tomahawks that we're gonna have tonight. This is our first time having these, so I'll definitely let you guys know how they go. But they're super high protein, pretty lean, kind of funny looking. They're actually tiny, so if you look, way smaller than my hand. Dinner is through. I'm going to wind down, maybe watch a little show with some of the siete chips and then also the peach salsa that I mentioned earlier. Once again, this is from my friend Shane's wife, and they actually made this with tomatoes from their garden, peaches from their peach tree. So I just love having something that's like made with love from my friends. So this is what I'm going to end the day with. I know this full day of eating was a little bit sporadic, and to be honest, I wish I would have had a little bit more in the midday section, but things like had to be moved around and were a little bit chaotic. So I ended up probably having a little bit more snacks as lunch versus like having a real sit down lunch that I had planned to have. So just so it's super clear, obviously every day is so different. There are days where I don't have packaged food at all. There's days where I do have obviously more snacks and packaged foods, but to be honest, I feel like because I view food as fuel for my body and not something that I should have any sort of like emotional attachment to, I don't really feel bad about doing certain things or not eating certain things or eating certain things. I just don't really have that emotional pull towards it. I will say in my past, it was definitely something that I struggled with very, very, very heavily. So a lot of growth has happened for me over the past several years, and I've just grown to really love and appreciate food and the way that it fuels my body. So I hope that's helpful for you, and I hope that if you're struggling with your relationship with food, that you're able to maybe reframe some things for yourself, have a little bit more grace for yourself, but also viewing food as your personal fuel for your brain, for your body, for what you can do for your kids, whatever it may be. Food is 100% the thing that's going to make or break our performance, and then also make or break our longevity. So I hope that was helpful for you to watch, or I hope that you just enjoyed watching it. If you enjoy these types of videos, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay unbreakable.